Hot diggity dog, I finally have enough for my final ship upgrade. It's been a long journey, but definitely one that is going to be well worth it now.
Well, shit. Now what do I do? Welcome back to the channel, Helldivers, and in this video today, I want to talk about what to do in Helldivers 2 when you reach that end game. Now, I have gone through this process twice where I have earned every warbond, and I have upgraded my ship fully, both on PlayStation and now Steam. So does that make me some sort of crazy son of a bitch? It sure does. Now, at the moment with Helldivers 2, there's not really much content going on. And if you've ever played an MMO like Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, or something with a seasonal or battle pass model, you know it kind of goes into a cycle of new content comes out, usually resulting in some sort of like a hype period, and then a short time afterwards, it gets a little stale, maybe a little bit boring, but you enjoy the game, so you push on just playing it daily. But then those little things about the game start to just grind on you, and that boredom kind of turns into then some sort of like anger. And then you maybe just get fed up with the game and just think it's not very good. But as soon as you're about to write off that game, well then new content comes out and the vicious cycle starts all over again. And this is just the way it is because game development takes a while, you gotta let the developers cook. But I do have a few suggestions here that maybe will alleviate that issue, so let's get into it. Now, my first suggestion here, if you are somebody who really likes to push a game to its full mechanics, to its full potential, then maybe consider doing something like challenge runs, where you really gotta test out your kit and know what it's capable of. This comes in the form of something like solo tier 10 Helldives, either just trying to complete the main objective and survive, or maybe trying to clear out the entire map all by yourself. Helldivers 2 has a great sandbox, and there's an entire subset of the community that is just strictly solo divers. Now, this isn't necessarily my playstyle, but it is fun to dabble in and to try out, at least every once in a while. Another way to potentially challenge yourself is to do stealth runs. There is some light stealth mechanics in Helldivers 2, and I think you'd be surprised about just how far you can go as far as being this solid snake on the battlefield. Again, this suggestion is more for you hardcore players that really like to push yourself. Let's move on to the next suggestion. The next suggestion that I want to talk about is super credit farming. Now, obviously, part of the big content period or the hype period would be when new warbonds are released. Well, for those warbonds, you need 1,000 super credits. So why not do some super credit farming? Now, the TLDR and how to super credit farm, it's very easy. You find a barren planet like a moon or a desert. You go to tier 1 or tier 2 and look for missions that have already started where they have players that are really high level that you'd sit there and question why are these really high level players playing on these lower difficulties? Well, that's because they are super credit farming. It is very easy, very simple, and it lets you basically play with the sandbox as far as the traversal tools like the fast recon or the jump packs. It's definitely a slower paced time, maybe even considered grindy, but jumping on to do a couple of these missions to grab a couple super credits, it actually can add up over time. So that way when a new warbond wheels around, you have the amount of super credits you need to just buy it right off the bat. This suggestion I actually really like a lot because it is very much the community has created this ecosystem in the game, because previously, or I'd say in the early stages of the game, we really didn't have this community going on, and you kind of needed another player to get into those bunkers. And I would say the whole super credit farming thing really wasn't as well known. But now it's something that is consistently going on, so go ahead and get in there, Helldivers, and get yourself some super credits. Now, this next suggestion is for you RPers out there. That's the role players, somebody who's going to get really invested into the Helldivers 2 story. Now, really quickly, to burst your bubble about the Helldivers 2 story, it is essentially a straight line. We are starting somewhere and we're going to end somewhere. The major orders, whether we succeed them or fail them, are not going to change the overall narrative when it comes to Helldivers 2. That might deviate a little bit as far as the flavor text and maybe what rewards we'll be getting, but as far as the overall narrative, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But that's okay. I feel like in the beginning of Helldivers 2, they did a really good job at selling us on the Helldivers 2 narrative and getting people invested into the story. So with this suggestion, it's really to get into the weeds of the story. That means really contributing to whatever major order is going on. Now, when it comes to the DSS, this, I know donating samples to it can kind of feel a little off-putting because you don't know if the developers are ever going to add more ship upgrades, and those ship upgrades cost a lot of samples. So you don't want to donate a bunch of samples and then some update comes out and now you're behind because you were donating to the DSS. I am definitely somebody who is conservative with my super samples, and I really don't like donating to the DSS, especially since whenever I donate to them, I don't really ever feel like I see the fruits of my labor when it comes to them being on the planets that either I'm fighting on or have to do anything with the major order. But overall, when it comes to the DSS, that's kind of up to you. So that's one way to get immersed with the Galactic War and the Helldiver 2 narrative. Well, what about actually in-game? Well, I think you'd actually be very surprised to see how many things you can call back when it comes to your HUD. You can really slow down this game and turn it into almost like a military simulator, and really take in, say, the landscapes or as far as the gun mechanics. And it encourages a more slower, I would say, tactical gameplay. Now, I wouldn't really suggest this on the higher difficulties, just because on the higher difficulties, you're more likely to be just running and gunning the entire time. Lower the difficulty a little bit. For me, I like to dial down the difficulty probably to around tier 6, and that really lets me limit the UI and take the game at a slower pace. And don't worry about lowering the difficulty and somebody coming for your gamer card. That's not a thing. So if you've never tried to take a slower pace with the game and really get immersed, I highly suggest trying it out. Now, I only have a few more suggestions left, and the next one is Buildcraft. We have a lot of weapons in this game, not to mention the secondaries, the grenades, the armor perks, and all the stratagems. There's a lot to play around with, and luckily, all of them are basically viable, meaning you can take them into the highest difficulty and find success. I think one of the biggest strengths of this game is the sandbox, because when's the last time you went into a city map and then you were a sniper on the roofs? Or brought out one of the exosuits and just went to town on whatever enemies you're fighting against? We've got lightning weapons, we got fire weapons, we got gas, we got conventional weapons, we have lots of shotguns. As a Helldiver, we just have so many combinations and tools to basically fit out almost like any fantasy or theme that we can think of. Want to make a Mandalorian build? Well, I got a few of those. Want to be some sort of Tesla trooper? Yep, got one of those builds too. Is this section turning into some sort of self-promotion? I don't know, maybe. The point is, I know some of you got some weapons or some stratagems in those lockers that you haven't used or touched in ages. And maybe you're getting a little stuck in your ways just picking the same loadouts every time. So for this suggestion, I would just try mixing up a little bit. After all, variety is the spice of life, someone says. I don't know. And my last suggestion here, if you're in the end game and you're getting a little bit bored, is just to, put down the game, to go play something else. We're at a point in time where we have so many games and everybody's got a huge back catalog, and the games just keep coming out. There's absolutely no reason to shackle or tie yourself down to just one game. For me, I like to mix it up with a little bit of Hunt Showdown, be a little bit of a supernatural cowboy in the bayou. The point is, Helldivers 2 was insanely successful at its launch that has basically secured that this game's going to be getting updates for years to come. So there's no problem putting the game aside and then waiting for new content to come out. We have 6 weeks between the warbonds, and usually those warbonds then come with updates themselves. So taking breaks is completely healthy and going to ensure that when you do return to the game, it's going to feel fresh again, and hopefully there's new content to enjoy. But yeah, that's it. That's the video, Helldivers. Let me know if any of these suggestions have helped you out. Let me know any games you guys are dabbling in. I mentioned that I play Hunt Showdown on the side. I play other games too, but that's usually my main one for a palate cleanser when it comes to a shooter. But if you've made it this far, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Knowing my luck, I'll release this video and then Helldivers 2 will get a huge content update tomorrow, so you're welcome for that if it happens. If you're familiar with the channel, you notice this is like a new background. I basically got taken out of my office and shoved into a corner, so that's why it's different now. That's enough rambling. I will see you guys next time. Peace and take care.